Call this meeting of the Camarillo City Council to order, both the regular meeting and the special meeting. We're meeting at 4:30 for both of them for closed sessions, and I will ask the city attorney to read the circumstances under which we can go into closed session.
Yes, we have two closed sessions. The special meeting closed session is a conference with legal counsel on existing litigation. That's pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. The name of the case is OPV Coalition, et cetera, and the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency. The case number is in the agenda. Our second closed session is the one on our regular meeting schedule, and that's a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. Number of potential cases is 1.
Are there any public comments on the closed sessions, either one of them? I see no one coming forward, so at this time we will recess to closed session.
We're going to go ahead and call this regular meeting, September 8, 2021, regular meeting of the Camarillo Sanitary District to order. Let the record reflect that all board members are present this evening. Let's see. Ms. Santangelo, would you please lead us in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Susan. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Hearing none, are there any public comments? I don't see any public comments. Madam Clerk, do you have any cards? All right, we have a consent calendar consisting of 3 items. Do I hear a motion on the consent?
I'll move the approval.
I'll second.
Okay, I hear a motion from Mrs. Craven and a second from Ms. Santangelo. Please vote. All right, our consent calendar is adopted on a 3-0 vote. Any oral communications?
5-0?
Yeah, I'm going to have to get with my math for tonight. That's right, adopted on a 5-0 vote. I knew it was unanimous, so there we go. Thank you. All right, the consent calendar is adopted on a 5-0 vote. Any oral communications from any board members? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting of the Sanitary District.
I'll call this meeting of the Camarillo Successor Agency to order. And I'm trying to figure out where my agenda is on this computer. Here we go. And ask the record to reflect that all council members are present. Are there any amendments to this agenda? Any public comments? Would anyone like to speak to the successor agency? Seeing no one come forward, we'll go on to the consent calendar.
I'll move the approval of consent.
Second.
So motion is second, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We're not going with numbers.
Probably better. It's a safer route, yeah.
Okay, oral communications. Staff have any communications for us? Council members? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. And I'll call the meeting, the regular meeting and the special meeting of the Camarillo City Council back to order. And at this point, we will close the special meeting. The regular meeting will continue. Could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Kildee.
Here.
Councilmember Santangelo.
Here.
Councilmember Tremblay.
Here.
Vice Mayor Molche.
Present.
Mayor Craven.
Here. Are there any amendments to this agenda? We are going to pull item D from the consent calendar, and it will not be on another item later. If there are no other changes to the agenda, we get to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item D?
I'll second.
With the exception of item D?
Yes.
Okay, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. We have a presentation, the Clean Power Alliance.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, council members, board member. Pleasure to be with you tonight. I was asked to come provide a little bit of an update on Clean Power Alliance, and in particular, the rates and the default change that you voted on last year and was deferred a year, and just sort of talk about what that process looks like over the next year or so, as it was deferred a year due to COVID and rate volatility and all sorts of less than fun things, let me say. Just a quick reminder, I think all of you know this, but for anybody watching at home, most electricity customers in Camarillo are customers of Clean Power Alliance. We're supplying the energy. Edison is delivering the energy. There's 2 charges on your bill. It's not an extra charge, but it separates the bill out between the supply, which Clean Power Alliance provides, and the delivery, which Edison continues to do, along with billing services. We do give our customers access to the most sustainable energy in the region. One other reminder is we're across 32 member agencies in our Joint Powers Authority. It's unincorporated Ventura County, unincorporated Los Angeles County, and 30 cities within those 2 counties. It's every city in Ventura with the exception of Santa Paula, Fillmore, and Port Hueneme. So we cover the vast majority of the county. It's now about 1 million customer accounts, serving over 3 million residents and businesses. And 2 things that we're, now that we're 3 years old, moving from infant to toddler stage, we're kind of a big chubby toddler. We turned out to be the 5th largest electricity provider in the state of California, kind of overnight. And next year, as a big CCA in San Diego starts up and takes a lot of load from San Diego Gas and Electric, we will be the 4th largest electricity provider in the state of California. We're online to do about $850 million of revenue this year. One important note on the sustainability side is we have over 300,000 customers on the 100% green or 100% renewable energy plan. That's more customers on 100% renewable energy plans than any utility in the nation. And if those customers alone were just a utility unto themselves, it would be about the 100th largest utility in the country. So we're really pushing the envelope on what it is like to provide high levels of renewable energy in a reliable and safe and cost-effective manner. And to the end of the reliability, we have become the 3rd largest purchaser of battery energy storage in the state of California and one of the largest in the nations. As we push the envelope on renewable energy and how much is on the grid, that's an intermittent resource. It's often weather dependent. We have to figure out ways to store it and then dispatch it at times of need, and we are far along on that pathway. One thing we've always looked at in each of our individual cities is what's happening with participation. During enrollment, we talked about opt-outs and how many people are opting out and how many people are staying. We now in Camarillo have a participation rate that is surpassing 95%, and it's growing. And one of the reasons that it's growing is that every new customer who calls Edison and says, I want to establish a new service account, they're automatically defaulted into our service. They receive the notices that happen during enrollment. They have a chance to opt out, as they always do. They have a chance to change their rate. But what is happening over time is that as new customers, the opt-out rate among those new customers who enroll is lower than it was initially during that mass enrollment period. And so the participation rate numbers are going up. Another development that is happening as we get more mature is our development of local programs. It's been one of the promises of Clean Power Alliance that above and beyond the programs that SCE offers and that are still available to our joint CPA, SCE customers, is to go above and beyond. And I just wanted to highlight 3 of them. We're in the midst of doing site surveys for our Power Ready program, which is a program where we're aimed to install a clean energy backup power system in each one of our 32 member agencies. And I was just talking with Roger here, our consultant on that EcoMotion was here a couple of weeks ago, I think, with your facility staff doing site surveys. That would be a clean energy backup power system offered at no cost to each of our member agencies, including Camarillo. In August, together with the California Energy Commission and the Ventura County Air Pollution Control District, we launched an EV charger incentive program for publicly available chargers. So this aren't the stuff in the residential, but we know from the trends in EVs that people need to be able to charge someplace else other than their home, or if they live in apartment buildings or are renters, it's often the access is more difficult. So we put out about $4 million in EV charger incentives last month. It's the largest single investment in EV chargers in Ventura County ever. We experienced incredible pickup. There were chargers for, incentives for the fast chargers, the one that can charge your car in a half hour to an hour fully charged. Those incentives were picked up in the first 3 minutes of the program being open. There are still quite a bit of money left over for the level 2 chargers, which are the ones that take about 7 hours, that you can put in a parking lot, a 7-Eleven, those kinds of multifamily buildings for overnight charging. Really good response on that. And then finally, we just, the board approved last week or whenever it was, the time merges these days in pandemic, a new suite of demand response programs, which particularly are going to focus on the smart thermostats, which allow customers to sign up and get paid to have their thermostat automatically adjusted during days like today, when there's a flex alert being called for today and tomorrow. It's a way of helping the customer save money. It's a way of helping us, Clean Power Alliance, manage our costs, but also involving the customer in actual grid stability, because days like today are days when we're calling on people to conserve, and this is an automatic way of conserving as well as getting paid to do so, not just out of a goodwill. I put this up, there's a lot of words up here just to note that the pandemic has been hard on people. The number of, and as a result, the number of financial incentive or bill assistance programs is growing. One particular one that I want to highlight is this arrearage management program for low-income customers who accrued more than $500 in outstanding balances during the pandemic. If they get on a payment plan and make continuous payments for a year, we will forgive up to $8,000 in unpaid bills, straight off the top. And we, together with the state, will be doing somewhere between $12 and $15 million of full-on bill forgiveness that was in the state budget that we expect to roll out to customers later this year. There was $1 billion put in for electricity customer bill write-offs for those who incurred debt during COVID. A reminder that we have our 3 products, Lean Power, Clean Power, and 100% Green Power. Customers can choose to change their product at any time. The vast majority of the customers, in Camarillo or on lean power, which was your default. So a little bit about our rate history. For the first 3 years, we had the lowest rates available in the region, including customers who saved money for those 3 years who are on the lean power rate here in Camarillo. In 2021, our rates became higher than SCE for the first time. Our actual rates didn't become higher, but our rates plus the power charge indifference adjustment, or PCIA, which is a legacy payment to SCE combined, made us in a position where we could not offer a rate that was lower than Edison. So our new rates are based on a cost of service model, which for those of you in the public world who may work with water or trash or whatever is a pretty standard way of setting rates for public agencies that ensured our fiscal stability and sort of got us away from adjusting rates every time Edison did. Edison has, since May of 2020, adjusted rates 8 times, and we have only done so once. So we're trying to bring some stability both to the organization as well as the rates. But what it means is that at any single point in time, we may be more expensive or less expensive for the 3 different products, getting away from that indexing idea. So you'll see that projected as of October 2021, when Edison puts in a pretty significant rate change, those for every $100 of a bill, that's what the rates are. So it's about $6 extra a month for lean, $7 for clean, and $10 a month for 100% green. And I'll note again, that is a single point in time. Edison will adjust rates again in the first quarter of next year. The PCIA also adjusts in the first quarter. So what that looks like in January or February may be quite different, and it's really hard to project these days given the volatility of energy markets. So just a recap of your own actions. You're currently on lean power as the default. In early December, your council voted to change to clean power effective October 2021. But because of the rate volatility and just some of the economic uncertainty out there, we deferred to that. The effective date of the default change was pushed back a year to October of 2022. I'm not sure what that April 2021 thing meant, but we'll get rid of that. So where we stand now is that there is no action needed to be taken to have the default change made next year. We're about to go through a default change experience with Agora Hills and Calabasas and Manhattan Beach that all made a decision at around the same time that you did to opt up to 100% green. And we're going through that experience right now, which is effective October of this year. So just as I say, there's no action to be taken, I just wanted to provide you with a little bit of more context about how we as an organization are thinking about our rates and product trends. So as you may have seen from that chart, the rate differential between lean and clean and 100% green is starting to narrow. It used to be that lean was, a little bit cheaper than Edison, clean was right around parity, and the 100% green was significantly more expensive. What is happening is that renewable energy is getting cheaper, so that that differential is starting to shrink. And we see this as a long-term trend. So just at the pricing level, lean and clean are really starting to converge, and then the 100% green rate that differential is narrowing. The other thing that's happening is that the state minimum renewable energy requirements, as well as the greenhouse gas emission profile of Edison are increasing. So Edison's carbon emissions are going down as the state minimums go up, and state minimum renewable energy. So we'd like to be competitive from an environmental perspective with Edison, but we also have to continue to be mindful of the state minimums. So what that means from an environmental performance is over the next couple of years, the environmental performance of the lean power will start to converge with clean power. We got to get to 50% renewable energy over the next 3 years. So doing nothing and just keeping that lean power at a minimum, well, it would have to increase its environmental performance, and we might converge with clean power, and therefore pricing and all of that, and you start to question what happens there. Given these two, both the pricing trends as well as the need to up everybody, the board will start to look at whether there's a different type of long-term pricing and content strategy for the lean and clean products. The 100% green is that gold standard out there that's 100% renewable energy, 90% of it is in-state. It's really the flagship product. I don't think that's going to be touched, but we need to talk about what happens when lean and clean start to converge. Do we start to also ratchet up clean over time as well to maintain those three products? Do we, and what are the price implications of that? So just all to say that there's a caveat to all of this is that, what lean and clean look like today, both from a pricing and competitive standpoint as well as an environmental performance, might look different beginning in 2023. We're locked in for 2021 and 2022, and we just want to make sure that we're in constant and close communication, whether it's through our board member Santangelo or any of you who want to ask questions, your city manager, about how that may impact the default change that would come in October. And I'll stop there and see if there are any questions.
Questions, Sean?
Thanks for coming out today, and thanks for the presentation. Can you talk a little bit about investments that CPA has made or is looking to make in clean and renewable energy generation, and what you guys hope, what effect those investments you hope to have on in regards to rates?
Yeah. So we've now signed 17 long-term power purchase agreements in our 3 years. 15 of them are for renewable energy and 2 for standalone energy storage. Many of our renewable energy projects also have storage together with them. Those are scattered mostly across Southern California, some in LA County, a lot in Kern, Riverside, San Bernardino. Those projects, as they come online, reduce our costs because those long-term projects, they're fixed prices for 15 years. There's no escalation, and they help us both with price stability, but the cost of that energy is much cheaper than when we buy renewable energy on the short-term open market. So it's less volatile and cheaper. And then the other thing that's happening is our investments in battery storage. What we're going to be increasingly doing is using the renewable energy from our projects to charge batteries when energy is cheap in the middle of the day when there's a lot of solar all over the state, and then discharge the batteries in the evening when energy prices are expensive, and we will be actually selling into the market. So there's a lot of trends that are saying that our long-term power purchase agreements are having a downward impact on rates, and you're already starting to see that in the lessening of the differential with the 100% green.
Sure.
Sorry, and one follow-up. You said of all the customers you guys serve, 800,000 have chosen 100% green. As a percentage of the total number of customers you guys have, what is that figure?
Yeah, sorry, it's about 330,000, so it's about a third of our customers.
Oh, okay, I misheard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the masks. We can always blame the masks these
Right.
days. It doesn't matter anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's about it's just over a third of our customers.
Tony?
Thanks, and Ted, thanks for being here this evening. I really appreciate it. I have three questions for you. The first one is, if you go back to the graphic that had SCE at 100 and followed by, okay.
Yep.
Is that well, let's just say the least expensive Edison rate? Because there are tiers of Edison rates,
Yep.
correct?
That's the least expensive Edison rate, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to be sure that we were oranges to oranges. Is that at a 40% renewable? In other words, is the least expensive Edison rate comparable to our lean power?
So in 2020, which is the data, the last sort of audited results, our lean power was about 40% renewables, and Edison's was about 33%.
33%.
33. So there is a from a renewables perspective, there is a higher environmental performance. In 2021, to save some money, we moved lean power to a 40% hydropower product, which is zero carbon emissions,
Right.
but it's not qualified by the state as a renewable energy product. So for lean power, we had to de-emphasize some of the renewables and emphasize the GHG free. It's now going to be comparable with Edison on a greenhouse gas emissions perspective. I imagine that's another thing that the board will be revisiting about getting that lean power rate back on the renewables train and what the price impacts of that will be.
Okay, thanks. Two more if I can, ma'am. I know that you mentioned the PCIA charge, and we could probably go way down in the weeds on that, but just the basic question is this: what, if any, is the duration or the limitation of that PCIA charge or differential that former Edison customers are going to have to pay? Is it going to end sometime?
Theoretically, it will end. Neither you nor I are likely to be around when that happens.
That's too bad. Okay.
But what it does have, it has serious step downs. As those contracts, those very expensive contracts that they signed in the late 2000s, as those reach their 15 or 20-year expiry date with Edison, those come off the PCIA. So there's going to be a step down around the middle of the decade that we will observe, and then there'll be another one probably in the early 2030s when there was another slew of what are now above market costs. So that will come down over time. It's unlikely that it will ever completely disappear, but it will become less and less a component of the customer charges.
But if I'm looking at it, okay, so that's the good news, because if I'm looking at that from a comparison pricing standpoint over time, relative to Edison's charges, CCA's or CPA's charges will decrease.
Yeah. Now what that means, though, is that Edison is probably going to sign some new contracts, and so their generation rates will also go down. And so from a competitive perspective, it's not just, the PCIA goes away, and then we're all better off in terms of a competitive position. We're still going to have to work hard to compete. It's just we're going to have a whole lot more control over our rates.
Well, isn't it true, that's true, but isn't it true also that the regulatory constraints that are extant today were not in existence at the time Edison signed those long-term power deals? So that is also to CPA's benefit,
Absolutely, yes.
because we have it's a kind of a different set of parameters.
Yeah, we'll be in a different competitive position, and it will be a lot easier to work with a lower PCIA for sure.
Okay, and Sean asked this question, but I'm going to try it from a different one, and I appreciate him asking. The number of customers that are, like the 300,000 customers in CPA, what does that represent? It represents about 1/3, but can you just tell us, for the number of jurisdictions within CPA,
Yep.
how many are at lean, clean, and 100%?
Yeah, so come October 2021, when Agora Hills, Manhattan Beach, and Camarillo and Calabasas, change, we will have 15 jurisdictions on the 100% green product. I think there will be, I want to say 7 or 6 left on lean. 7, I think, and the remaining 10 would be on clean. I can get the exact numbers for you, but from a jurisdiction perspective, almost half will be on 100% green. It's just in terms of the number of customers, because LA County is not, is on clean. That represents a huge number of customers.
Right, yeah, no, I was simply going by the percentage of the entities. I wasn't going
Yeah,
by the
it's
customers.
close to-
And
it's close
Sean's
to
question
half.
was really appropriate to that. Okay, well, thank you again for being here. I believe in the CCAs and the whole CCA approach, and I want to thank you for your hard work. I want to thank Councilmember Santangelo for her hard work. This ain't easy stuff. And I guess when I think about that, it's a complex subject with moving goalposts, and when I think about it, I kind of liken it to the old situation with Linus and Lucy, and Linus is trying to kick the field goal, and Lucy keeps moving the football, and in this case, Lucy is both Edison and the PUC from time to time, and I feel like CPA is kind of like Linus, because the ball keeps moving. So I want to thank you for your hard work.
Thank you very much. I will say that there's a component of Lucy that is climate change as well, and that the disruption of the energy market is really impacted by the changing weather.
Oh, yeah, not to minimize climate change, but it also happens within regulatory constraints,
absolutely.
Or if you want to use the analogy of moving goalposts, we can go there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Pardon? Kevin?
Yeah, can you brush upon a little bit of climate change and the impact? That's what my major concern is about going 100% green, and I totally support the concept and the idea of that. My concern is that it seems like, due to various factors, not the least of which obviously is climate change, that we seem to have these huge pendulum swings on that, and whether or not there's a capacity and a willingness to back up whatever we and you folks do, which you're doing a great job on. But my concern, and we only need to tune into reports about power being lost for several days, and I'm just curious as to how and if that can be, dealt with.
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think we had in California a bit of I'd say more than a bit of a failure to plan well for this transition. We started to deactivate a lot of the gas plants before there was a robust way of thinking about how to replace all of that capacity. So we are playing catch-up right now. And the catch-up is, we have to run a little bit faster because of the catch-up, because of the large swings in the weather, when we do need more and more of that backup capacity. One thing that is very encouraging to me is that, if the price of solar panels, decreased 80 to 90% over the course of about 10 to 15 years, making it, the most competitively priced form of electricity generation today. Batteries, particularly lithium-ion batteries, are on that same steep or possibly even steeper price trajectory today. And that's really where a lot of the action is in terms of getting that backup power. What we're also seeing is a renewed interest in geothermal. Geothermal has been sort of on the, maybe this is the wrong word, but on the back burner a little bit, developing new geothermal in the state because it has been more expensive. But geothermal runs 24/7, 365. And so now there's new, including in our own procurement planning, a new emphasis on going out and getting new geothermal resources for the portfolio to provide that continuous power. The last thing I'll note is that we are going to have to see, I believe, to really hit reliability, the kind of reliability that we've come to expect, more active participation among our customers. And it's one of CPA's long-term goals, is to really be that trusted partner with the customers, whether it's in demand response or helping them install batteries that can provide backup power in the case of emergencies or other areas. I really think that that's going to be key. The average consumer today does not think about it. And that's really one of our long-term goals, is to get people to be more active managers. So, but you are right. We are in a transition that was going to be difficult even before the weather started to go haywire, and that will just makes us have to work harder.
Okay. Thank you.
Tony?
Just a correction for the record, I realized as I was sitting here that it was actually Charlie Brown who was trying to kick the field goals and not Linus. So again, I really appreciate all your hard work. I really appreciate Susan Santangelo's hard work on CPA, so thank you.
So do we. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is oral communications, informational items that do not require any action. Mr. City Manager? City Attorney?
I have no items.
Start with Mr. Tremblay.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Meetings attended since August 25. On August 26, I had a ad hoc meeting for Fox Canyon GMA. On August 27, with the Mayor, a policy committee meeting. On September 1, with Vice Mayor Mulchay, a utilities committee meeting. And on September 4th, I was lucky enough to be able to introduce Raymond Michael at the concert in the park. That was fun. And I didn't even say thank you very much. Anyway, on a more serious note, I would request that the 20th anniversary of 9/11 is on Saturday, and I would request that tonight we adjourn in memory of those lives, 2,977 victims who were lost on 9/11, and especially the FDNY firefighters. There were 343 that were lost, 65 police officers, 8 emergency medical technicians, private sector, killed, and those on United Flight 93. We pray for them and for their families, and we will never forget their sacrifice. So my request is that we adjourn in their memory, and I would also request that perhaps we could have a brief, very brief moment of silence.
Maybe we could do that when we adjourn, because I think we'll probably finish the closed sessions during the break.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Kildee?
Yes, I attended a VRSD meeting, and, Mr. Tremblay and the other council members, it's hard to believe it's been 20 years with 9/11. It's one of those days where we all know what we were doing, and hard to believe it's been 20 years. I have a question. Does anybody know if the Tesla dealership is open yet? They are open. Do people know it's open? I mean, I drive by there, and are they building it? Or is this how it is? Or does anybody have any updates that you might be able to share?
No, just all their tenant improvements, and they're kind of active in the building at the current time. Sign is in.
I noticed there's a few cars out there. Has anybody gone by and counted? I think there's a few. I don't know. I mean, Mr. Mulchay owns one, but I don't know if you special order one, if you buy one there. I'm not sure how that works. You don't have to answer it tonight, but anyhow, it's kind of interesting.
We can't
So,
get
there's
into a
few
deep
of them there.
discussion.
So anyhow, okay, so we'll work on that. And I think that's all I have tonight. So.
Mr. Mulchay.
All right. You can buy it on your phone if you want. That's how I bought mine. August 29th, I was here at Constitution Park with Rabbi Lang to celebrate somewhat early, but the high holiday. And that was really great. I really enjoyed that. September 1st, I had a Utilities Committee meeting with Mr. Tremblay. September 2nd, I had a Citizen Appointment Committee with Ms. Santangelo. And I just have two things really quick to touch on. First one being just kind of traffic and school safety in general. Since school's resumed, I've been inbound on several emails and/or conversations with people who are concerned about safety, particularly how motorists are driving around school areas when kids are letting in and out. So I just want to remind the public, my company, we have 16 trucks on the road on a daily basis. We have safety meetings every 2 weeks, and we reiterate all the time how our guys need to drive safe while in the field, particularly in neighborhoods, because kids are about, and particularly in school zones when they're letting in and out. So please slow down. It seems that COVID has made worse drivers out of a lot of us. Because I hear horror stories almost on a daily basis as to how horrible some of the driving, how people are driving. And one of my employees' kids got clipped by a hit-and-run driver in their school crosswalk, not in Camarillo, in another city. And so that kind of hits home when you know someone who's personally had a situation like that occur. So it's really important that we take it seriously. When kids are present, slow down. When kids are in the crosswalk, you need to stop. When school bus has its lights flashing, you need to stop and not pass the school bus. Kids will dart out from behind the school bus. I drove by Camarillo High School today as it was letting out. I really appreciate Commander Tennyson. Thank you. You had 2 of your officers there on Mission Oaks Boulevard, and one was actively ticketing a speeder while another one was sitting there with a radar gun, making sure that people observed the speed limit when the kids were present. So I really appreciate that. I think we all just kind of need to be reminded about that, and that we need to drive safely and be courteous to others. The second thing, Mr. Tremblay already brought it up. Obviously, this is the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I remember exactly where I was, sitting at my living room table. I was in high school, eating cereal, and never turn on the TV in the morning, but for some reason I turned on the TV that day, and of course the first plane had already hit just moments before, and so it is really important, and I concur with the need to for a moment of silence and remember the people, the lives that were lost, civilians, the first responders. I was just an observer. I know people who lost family members in the tragedy. I know people who've lost family members since then in military intervention in Afghanistan and Iraq. We are a community with a very large volume of active military and veterans. So I also want to acknowledge their contribution, their sacrifice in the wake of those horrific attacks as well. They indeed made a lot of sacrifices as well. And so thank you.
Susan?
Thank you. First of all, Ted, thank you again for coming out. I appreciate being thanked. I'm absolutely honored to to be part of the CPA board. I am, obviously, I share the passion for clean energy and for each of us doing what we can as a city and as citizens to fight climate change. And it's been a ton of learning. It is so complex. And most of my time now, even on the executive board, is listening and really learning. But one of the things that I always walk away from our meetings is how committed the other board members are. And it's just, I can't even really explain it, but it is such a group of well-intended and smart and thoughtful people, and I'm really honored to be a part of that board. So appreciate you coming out here and helping to give some clarity to, well, wherever it's possible, to rates and what's going to happen. I wanted to do a quick shout out to Pleasant Valley Rec and Parks for the concerts. It was a unique year, and I'm really glad we were able to get some concerts out there. It was, for the two I attended, they were really nice. It was Rosh Hashanah this week, the Jewish celebration of the New Year. So Shana Tova, and wishing you a happy, healthy, peaceful, and joyous New Year. This morning we had a special meeting for Ventura County Animal Services, and it was a really, really well done. It was a special meeting just to talk about the issue of community cats. And I don't think it's much of an issue in our city, but in some neighboring communities, there are community feral cat issues. And there's a lot of misunderstanding from the public about how the shelter is funded and able to deal with the cat issues. And so it was a really, the presentation was from Dr. Kate Hurley from UC Davis Veterinary, who is like an expert in all things cats. And it was really interesting to see the research that they've done. I mean, there's research out there that shows how to control the pet population and targeted spay and neutering. The reason I'm bringing this all up is I think it's really important because what I was listening to for the first time was an evidence-based way to deal with feral cats. And it's not the common thought. It's not what the public thinks, that we should, get all these cats off the street, and that's really actually not the best thing to do. So that presentation is being sent out to us. I'm not sure the best way to get that out, but I would like to ask if staff, I mean, it's not really a formal request, but to help push some of the information from the animal shelter website, because they've redone their website and put some really interesting and helpful things. What do you do if you find a cat or a kitten? And it's like algorithms, is it this, is it that, take it here, take it there, and I think it would be really helpful for our community to get some of that information out, because I see it online, I found a cat, what should I do? And all that information is really readily available. So, COVID, please, everybody, keep being careful. Wear your masks when you're around people and indoors, and please get vaccinated. 20 years, on 9/11, I was pregnant, and I had a baby, and I was married to a commercial pilot. And I will never forget that week. Trying to find our pilot friends and making sure they were okay. And after they closed the airport, my then husband was on the first flight out when they reopened LAX, and I was scared to death. So I remember, and I'm profoundly sad still, 20 years later, about the loss of life. So thank you for asking to adjourn in the memory of all those lives lost and forever changed. And that's all I have.
I want to thank both Tony and Sean for filling in for me this past week on things I wasn't able to attend. I attended the Policy Committee meeting on August 27th, the Ad hoc Airport Committee yesterday, and today, the California Contract City State Legislative Committee meeting. Quite a few of the bills that we opposed have not yet gotten to the governor for signatures, so there's a possibility they may not. A few days ago, last Friday was the last day they were to be heard in committee, but they have been giving a whole bunch of waivers, and apparently tomorrow morning, there will be a lot of committees meeting in Sacramento, and they will be taking up issues on waivers and then sending to the governor, or not, because they still have to pass both houses, which means they'd have to go to the go to the floor of the second house, and then go back to the originating house before it could go to the governor's desk. So we'll see what happens, but some of them might not make it, and it could be that all of them do make it, who knows. This year is going to be really interesting to see what the governor will sign, what he signs before the middle of September, and what he waits till October to sign. It will be very, very interesting. If anybody is interested, the Contract Cities Sacramento Legislative Tour will be held January 9th through 12th. And at this time, they are planning to hold that. We'll have to see how COVID goes and whether you can get into the state capitol, because it's the time when a lot of people converge and go in and talk to legislators. I find it very interesting. If it isn't in Sacramento, it will be online as it was last year. What I find most interesting about this one is something that a lot of people think is boring, but they have a ton of legislators come in and talk to us, and they tell us what their priorities for the year will be. And that is the priorities for the legislation that will be introduced. And we have a little pre-session on, and we have an extra month on deciding how we're going to work on some of these issues. And some years it's all, everybody's interested in housing, some years everybody's interested in transportation, some years everybody's interested in homeless, so it'll be interesting to see this coming year what the stress is going to be on. I will comment on 9/11 when we do adjourn, but at this point, we will recess to our closed session. to us on an item that is not on the agenda, please fill out a card at the back and hand it to the city clerk up here. She has a small box, an inbox right beside the podium. I'll call the names in the order that I received them, and each speaker will have 3 minutes. We ask you to please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Otherwise, I will stop you at the end of the 3 minutes. There's a clock up here that you can see, and I can see one down there, and it will count down from 3 minutes. When it gets to 1 minute, a yellow light will come on, and there'll be a tone, a signal, and you'll then have 1 minute to complete your comments. First card I have is Keith Salvis.
My name's Keith Salvis, long-term resident of Camarillo. On Friday, 13th of March, 2020, my work sent me home due to COVID. I've been working from home ever since. I still have a job, but a lot of people don't. So the federal government started talking stimulus and moratoriums on evictions, but nothing about rent control. In May, my landlord raised my rent a whopping amount. I called them about the timing, and they said it was already in the works, so just tough. Several months later, a lot of improvements to the apartment on the outside. LED, clean burning, low energy lights, and I asked the workers, they said federal stimulus money. Several months later, I get another rent increase just last week. My rent has gone up 16%, more than 16%, in 16 months. And I'm wondering, how can they take federal stimulus money and still raise my rent? Let me bring it home to you in a different way. On January 1st, restaurants in Camarillo will no longer be allowed to use styrofoam containers for takeout. I applaud you all for thinking globally and acting locally, but I need you to think locally and act locally. My wife and I are already talking about going out a lot less because of this. So what I want is a moratorium on all rent increases retroactive to the first day our government shut us down, effective until the government announces the official end of COVID. Secondly, I want a public outreach to all Camarillo renters about the existence of the Rent Review Commission. Now, in fairness to Jeffrey Madeline, the Rent Review Commission does not concern itself with buildings built after 1968. She'll be taking a lot of calls she can't deal with. I'll be contacting Jackie Irwin to see if she wants to work with you on this, because rent control is as much a state issue as it is a local issue. I'll be contacting Julia Brownlee to find out if taking stimulus money and raising our rent is fraud or just a big hole in the law that needs to be addressed. I will try and get that information to you as well. And I will be talking to the Chamber of Commerce, getting a list of the restaurants that are going to be affected by both my rent increase and their need to use styrofoam containers. See if they want to contact you and really bring it home that we do need rent control. I want to thank you for your time. Lashona Tova. I'll call all of you in the next couple of days, so I introduce myself in a setting that we can talk to each other. I'll get the hard copy of the information to you next week, and I'll be back here at the next City Council meeting to make a public statement on the progress we've all made together on this. 2, 1, thank you.
And you made it, so the door didn't open in the floor and you didn't drop down.
10 years in radio.
Next card's from Betsy Artuso.
Hello. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. My name is Betsy Artuso, and I'm here to address the increase in our Camarillo area transit bus pass, monthly bus pass. And I've been coming here for 2 months solid to bare my soul and air my worries and concerns and fears. and a wise friend of mine told me that behind the worries, concern, and fears coin, on the other side of that is love. And I worry about the cost of the increase, and because I love the affordability of our monthly bus pass. And I'm doing it again, sorry. and of all the things I had to worry about, the monthly bus pass was not one. It was wonderful. And I am concerned about the bus riding community, and if they're going to be priced out, if we are going to be priced out of using the service, because I love seeing people use our bus service, coming out, being vibrant, active residents here in Camarillo, and doing for themselves because they can. And I am fearful that, is this how the city is going to get rid of the monthly bus pass, by pricing out people who use the service? I hope not. The bus pass is independence for those of us who need it, and it I can't even think of it. Sorry, I had to think and breathe. So anyway, I received a letter or an email from Tyler Nesmith 2 weeks ago, and the letter was from the city, which I was so excited to see, but the excitement turned to disappointment when I read platitudes and a brief description on how I can buy my bus pass and purchase a bus ride. The disappointment was such that it made me feel as if the city and the city council do not understand my concerns, and they seemingly are disinterested in doing anything about it. So I am asking again that this city council readdress the price increase and place this item back onto the agenda so we can come up with a price increase that is less than the 220% increase to ADA and seniors, less than 140% increase for general population, and definitely less than 380% for those folks that are 55 to 65. We can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next card is from Spencer Ritchie.
Hi. I am like Betsy and received a letter from Tyler Nestved basically explaining how for the low price of $10, I can get a 10-ride bus pass. That is not really a savings, for one thing. And another thing is that is no, again, $10 for 10 bus rides. Or if there's a pass that's $5 for 10 bus rides, that's not really a discount because the senior and ADA fare is already 50 cents on the CAT route bus. And then a dollar per ride is the general fare. So that was pretty insulting to be told that well, I could buy a $10 10-ride bus pass or a $5 10-ride bus pass or whatever it was. Well, either way, it was not anywhere near as affordable as the $25 monthly bus pass was. And if the city hasn't come up with anything that they're going to tell us about tonight, both Betsy and I will be sorely disappointed. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is everyone is so sad about it having been 20 years since 9/11. We spent nearly 20 years in Afghanistan. COVID's still running rampant. And yeah, it is very appropriate to mourn the lives lost. And in fact, I'm going to apologize for my earlier tone if it might have come off as mocking. But what a lot of people don't think about is all the survivors of these catastrophic events in our world history. And survivors of these catastrophic events are point of fact more likely to be disabled than people who have not survived these catastrophic events. And I find it doubly insulting to everyone who has managed to survive these catastrophic events with disabilities to have their bus fare
Thank you, Spencer.
raised like this.
Thank you very much. The next card I have is from David Schlangen.
And good evening, Mayor Craven, council members, city staff, and citizens of Camarillo. My name is David Schlangen, and I'm on the Camarillo Ranch Foundation Board of Directors. I'm here to inform you about an event that we will be having at the ranch property later this month. But before I do that, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the city of Camarillo, especially Carmen Nichols, Kevin Jorgensborg, Ryan Mitchell, and Stephen Cruz for working with the Ranch Foundation in making the house and grounds look so beautiful during the COVID-19 shutdown. I would also like to thank the citizens of Camarillo for their continued financial support during the shutdown, and finally thank the rest of the board of directors and of course the docents for their steadfast support and work during the shutdown. We have used this time to update our documents, inventory the house, and we are all excited about having a virtual tour of the ranch house on our website in the coming weeks. This will allow individuals around the world to enjoy our historic house, and we hope it inspires people to come and take a tour with our docents and learn more about Adolfo and the Camarillo family. We are having a movie premiere at the Camarillo Ranch on Friday, September 24th. As many of you remember, we had a movie filmed at the ranch in May that used the house and grounds extensively in the movie. That movie is called Blue Moon Ball because of dances that occurred at the house when there was a blue moon. The event on September 24th starts at 4:30 p.m. with the movie starting at around 7 p.m. We'll have multiple food trucks on site for individuals to purchase dinner and a live band playing before the movie starts. We will also be having kettle corn because a movie without popcorn is just not a movie. We will be having a silent auction for people to bid on signed scripts and other items from the movie. The actors will be in attendance so you can get an autograph or take a picture with them. The tickets are $15 a piece or two for $25. Kids under 8 are free. We wanted to make this a family event. We are asking people to pre-order their tickets, and they can be purchased by going to our website at CamarilloRanchFoundation.org. I have some flyers that I wanted to give out to all of you, and I hope all of you are able to attend the event. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you, and I'll answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Question? Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to us under public comments? Seeing no one come forward, we'll go on to the next item, which is presentations, transit assistance. Could we have the staff report, please?
Yes, thank you. Tyler Nesbed will be giving a brief presentation.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. We would like to discuss Camarillo area transit fares. Specifically, I'd like to discuss the Dial-A-Ride Senior and ADA fares. The Senior 65 Plus and ADA fare is $2 each trip. That's as of July 1st, 2021. Riders may pay cash each trip, however, the exact fare is required. Because the exact fare is required, as a convenience, the city offers prepaid passes. We offer an $80 monthly pass, and that's valid for unlimited local dial-a-ride and fixed route services. It's valid for the calendar month that it's purchased for, which means that if you buy a August pass, it's only valid for August. If you buy a September pass, it's only valid for September. And that price is based on 40 individual trips per month. So if you ride more than 40 trips in a month, there's still a potential cost savings and reduction in that fare for you. We also offer a $20 10-ride ticket, and that's valid for local dial-a-ride only. It has no expiration date, so you can purchase 2 or 3 of them at once, as many as you'd like, and it doesn't expire at the end of the month. You can continue to use it, but it's only good for those 10 individual trips. As a comparison to other services, we have Camarillo Area Transit there. Then we have Go Access or Gold Coast Transit, Thousand Oaks Transit, and Simi Valley Transit. The senior age is 65 for all of these in the county. And you can see that the $2 fare for senior and ADA single rides is the cheapest in the county for this type of service. And no other agency offers an unlimited use monthly pass. And that's because it's difficult to sustain the benefit and maintain that fare and maintain that fare box recovery ratio. In addition to those fare options, some other options available for senior and ADA riders, VCAAA, or Ventura County Area Agency on Aging, offers assistance through their VC Elder Help Program. They provide free bus passes for senior 60+ and ADA riders living in Ventura County. So if a Camarillo resident were to reach out to VCAAA, they could receive free 10-ride tickets. More information about the VC Elder Help Program is available at their website or at the phone number provided below. Also, Medi-Cal offers 2 types of transportation assistance to their beneficiaries. Non-emergency medical transportation would be transportation like gurney transportation. It's not exactly services that we provide, but they do offer that type of transportation, as well as non-medical transportation services, which is the types of services that CAT provides. And so Medi-Cal beneficiaries can reach out to, or through Medi-Cal to get those types of transportation services. And for more information regarding Medi-Cal's transportation services, there's more information at their website provided below. And that concludes my presentation.
Can we leave this up a little while in case anybody wants to write down? That was kind of fast going through the websites and the phone numbers, and I know I didn't get them all down, but are there any questions? Mr. Kildee?
Yeah, Tyler, I have a question. Are there any other opportunities out there that you're aware of for assistance via another state program, perhaps? Maybe there's a federal program. Is there any CARES Act funding that might be available that you may be aware of?
So,
And if there is, and you don't particularly know tonight, maybe could you get back to us if you find out any other?
I mean, we're
opportunities?
using the CARES Act funds for transit to continue to provide service while we're not receiving the same type of recovery. So that the CARES Act money is going towards just continuing to provide service. And then the federal assistance that we already receive is helping to keep the any contributions by the cities, is keeping it affordable essentially and allowing us to do it. And then our regular fare is already a reduced rate compared to the general purpose ride. And I think that would be where that federal assistance is really helping. But there's no other programs that I'm aware of that provide direct transportation assistance like this.
If I could add on to that, just
Certainly.
for clarification too, definitely not those types of levels of assistance to an individual, right? The federal, state, and the CARES Act money, that's all money that's coming to agencies for use on services like that. So I just wanted to clarify that. There isn't any of those types of assistance directly to an individual from state or federal programs.
Is there any assistance perhaps through VCTC or anything of that nature that you're aware of?
Again, not to an individual. That would all be through the funding that flows through VCTC to us to provide this service.
Well, there is the one listed up here from the Area Agency on the Aging.
Correct, yeah, beyond, we're just beyond what's already been listed.
Sean?
Tyler, has the city updated its website and all these rates? And for these two resources, have we posted these online already? And if not, can we?
Yes, the rates have been updated. These two resources can be added if they're not up there already.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We completed our closed session items for both the city council and the special one, the special meeting, which gets us down to adjournment. But before we adjourn, Mr. Tremblay asked earlier if we could have a moment of remembrance for those who lost their lives on 9/11 at all the sites. So I would ask you all to join me in that. Thank you. And with that, our meeting
Mayor,
is...
before you adjourn, I'm over here. I do have some information that I think we need to go back into our closed session on. Just take a minute.
Okay,
This would be on the initiation of litigation item.
okay. We will, the circumstances under which we go into closed session have already been read, and so we will now recess to closed session again.